Yeah, okay, so let's start maybe with a little round of introductions. I can start. I'm Sara Petti. I'm the community manager of Frictionless Data. I'm normally based in Hamburg, Germany, but in this moment, I'm slowly moving towards Bologna, Italy. That will happen in the next couple of weeks. I'm really excited to be here with you today, and I'm looking forward to hear Daniela's and Cassiano's presentation. And I'll pick Daniela to go next.
Hey everyone, thanks for having me. I think there's a few familiar faces like the Bico Demo crew. Good to see all of you. But for those who I haven't met, I have a couple of different roles in the data world with data metrics, data ethics, and with Dryad. So I'm looking forward to talking about how we worked with Dryad and Frictionless today.
Do you want to pick the next person, Daniela?
Sure. I'll go to Danny.
Solidarity names. I'm Danny Kincaid. I am the director at Bico Demo. So I get the fun pleasure of working with Adam and Amber on all the frictionless related projects that we have going on with Bico Demo. And I appreciate the opportunity to join the webinar today. Thanks. And I'm going to pick somebody I don't know. So I'm going to pick Connie.
Thank you, Danny. Hi, everybody. My name's Connie, and I'm the community manager for 40 Research Data, which is an international data repository, but it's actually based in the Netherlands. I'm currently not in the Netherlands, but I'm living at the moment, I'm working from the UK in a place called Nottingham. And this kind of community and frictionless data is quite new to me, so I'm quite keen to hear what's going on, and I'm looking forward to the presentations. I also work with my colleague who's here. So Paula, I'm going to pass over to you.
Thank you, Connie. So my name is Paula, and I'm a research data officer at TU Delft Library and also for TU Research Data Repository. So I work a lot with Connie. And I've been following frictionless data for a long time, joining sometimes whenever I can, talking to Lily to do some training together. And I'm super curious to know about the integration you did of data validation and Dryad. At 4TU Research Data Repository, we are always thinking about innovative ways to support researchers. So we are very curious to see how this works and if it's something that we could also be doing. And I will give it to Francisco.
Hi, I'm Francisco. I'm responsible for running the Open Data Portal in the state of Minas Gerais, Brazil. And I'm happy to be here today. And I think I'm going to go with Cassiano.
Hi, everyone. My name is Cassiano. I'm from Brazil, too. I live in São Paulo, and I have worked with Dryad team and OKFN team doing the integration, the frictionless integration in the Dryad upload system. And I will talk to you, I and Daniela, about this integration in a general way. And that's it. I pick Carlos. Can go.
Hello. I work for the Swiss Polo Institute, and we've been using frictionless for a few different things. And one was to document data that we passed to one of our partners in a more machine-readable format. And on the top of this, last year, I was doing one of the 12 funds, and I did the schema collaboration. So I've been on frictionless on and off for quite a while now for different reasons. And yeah, I'm happy to be here back. And I'll pass it to Clayton. I'm getting stressed that I don't remember who's been talking or not. Clayton.
Hello, it's not just you, don't worry.
Good.
Yeah. Hello, my name is Clayton Liddell. I work at Civic Actions as a backend engineer, and I specifically have been working on a project called DCAN, which makes use of frictionless data. And I think more specifically, their schema table. So I just joined to learn a bit more. I was invited by Dan Fetter. And so I guess I'll pass to Dan.
Hi, yeah, I'm a coworker of Clayton's. We both work full-time within CMS, which is the US federal agency that runs the Medicare and Medicaid, or like the public health system in the United States. So we've recently launched some open data portals there. And yeah, I've been sort of following Frictionless for a long time and trying to figure out how to integrate with these standards. And I joined a little late, so I'm not sure who's left.
I think it's me, Keith, and Augusto.
Yeah.
And Amber.
And Adam as well, right? And Shravani too.
I can go ahead. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, I passed you, Shravani.
Please.
So I'm Shravani. I just joined Hui this Monday, so pretty much new to everything, trying to learn more and more about the systems here, and that's why I'm here. And I'm a senior software engineer. I'm currently working with Adam, getting to know more about Bicodemo, and happy to be joining Hui, and looking forward to know and meet everyone soon. Yeah. Over to you, Adam, I guess.
Thanks, Shravani. My name is Adam Shepard. I'm the technical director of Bicodemo alongside Danny. I'm really the Robin to her Batman. But we've been here before, so good to see all of you again. Great to see Dan Fetter here. Dan, we had a connection a long time ago on DCAN, so good to see your face. I'll pass it over to Augusto.
Thanks, Adam. Hi, everyone. I'm Augusto Herman. I work in the Brazilian federal government as a data engineer. And some of you may know me from I have started the Open Data Initiative in the Brazilian federal government in 2010 and until 2018. And I use frictionless data in several projects, both in the ministry and also in the OKFM. So I pick Keith.
Hey, good morning. I'm Keith. I'm a postdoc at the National Institutes of Health, work on kind of precision medicine projects there. And then also just generally interested in data and data exploration and trying to create kind of standardized pipelines for interacting with data in kind of my spare time. So that's my connection with Frictionless. And yeah, I'm usually based out of Bethesda, although the past few months, not so much. And I'm in Washington State for the next couple of days before moving on. And I will pass it on to Lily.
Thanks, Keith. I'm Lily. I'm the product manager for Frictionless Data. I've met many of you, but it's also nice to see some new people as well. I'm based in Austin, Texas, and I was just vacationing, visiting my in-laws in Washington State a few weeks ago, and it was really nice to get some like cold fall weather because it's still pretty hot here. And I think we still haven't heard from Amber, so I'm going to pass it to Amber.
Hi, I'm part of the Bicodemo contingent that's here, but I think for anyone who isn't familiar with us, I'll just say we're the Biological and Chemical Oceanography Data Management Office. So we're an NSF-funded data repository, and we mostly are physically sitting, but our group is sitting at Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution in Woods Hole, Massachusetts. We have had some great pilot projects with OKFN, and we're eager to continue relations and keep updated with what all you are doing. So we'll probably be sitting in on these calls. Thank you.
Thanks, Amber. So once again, welcome everybody and thanks for being here. I won't talk any longer and I just pass the microphone to Daniela and Cassiano.
Cool, thanks for having us. So maybe just raise your hand. Is anyone here not familiar with Dryad? You've never heard of Dryad. Okay, cool. So for those who want or didn't want to raise their hand, Dryad is a data repository. We have over 42,000 data sets, and we publish data from any disciplinary field, though we are really trying to not take data from fields that have a field-specific repository like BecoDemo. And so we have a team of curators. And so a big thing about Dryad, as opposed to maybe Figshare, Zenodo, or other repositories you may have heard of, is that Dryad is for data that's going to be curated. But even having a team of curators, which is a bit different for a generalist repository, more common for disciplinary when there's specific things to be looking for, is that we didn't want our curators spending time thinking about just formatting issues. We really want to be thinking about, what makes a data set usable. And so we found Frictionless as this great idea to, what if we put this in the submission process and make it automated, so that before the data set even gets to our team of human curators, it's already made sure that it's passed through. And so Cassiano came on board to work with Lily's team and with my team, which was wonderful. And Cassiano is going to talk through kind of what that work looked like, and then we can pass it back over and I can talk about the 3 or so months that it's been live, what kind of trends we've been seeing. So Cassiano, over to you.
Okay, thanks, Daniela. And it's a pleasure to see you here again and see Lily. Nice to see you again, Lily, too, and Sarah, too. Okay, I had worked in another project with Frictionless that I worked with the University of São Paulo. I worked as a developer there, and we had a system to upload data sets for neuroscience researchers, and we made a join with OKFN, and I talked to Lily, and we implemented frictionless validation in the system, neuroscience experiment system, web-based platform. And so after this work, I met with Lily again, and that was this this project, this pilot for integration with Dryad upload file system, and I started to work with Dryad team and OKFN team again. And I will talk a little bit about how the integration with the Dryad frictionless integration works in a little bit technical, and I think Daniela will present something about the user experience and so on. So I prepared a very teeny slide presentation to show to you today, only to give you an more schematic way of what the integration went. And I will ask you if I can share my screen with you to show the slides. Okay, Sarah?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead. I think you should be able to do it.
Okay, so I will share my screen here. Let's see. Just let me see here if I stop. I don't know if you can you see my Chrome web browser, or just
right now we're just seeing
the terminal.
The terminal. Okay. Let's see if desktop 2. Okay. See here. And now Can you see?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so basically, I think I can separate the frictionless drive integration in for the backend part of the integration, the front end part. It's that's only some slides to give this schematic way for you. So, well, for the frictionless integration with other web-based systems is very straightforward, and you only have to install the frictionless Python package to start to use in a web-based system. So basically, I don't know if all here have more technical knows. So basically, frictionless framework is based on Python language, and well, when you just for install the frictionless Python package, you just have to use this command that is pip install frictionless. This is for install the frictionless package inside your system operation. So with this command and have the Python stuff in your computer, you after install the frictionless, you can start to using it. And in the Dryad system, for you to call the frictionless validation process is just to well, Dryad is making in Ruby language and a Ruby on Rails framework, and after we reshape the upload system for the Dryad app, we start to using frictionless, and it's just to call frictionless validation inside Ruby is just to call the frictionless package that you had installed before, and it's just defining a method and called frictionless, and you have the results of frictionless validation process and in a variable, and you can start to use the results to display the validation process and results in your website. So this is for the backend integration, and well, the frictionless framework is well documented in web, and it's a free software package, and this you can read about them and how to use in it. Yes, this is for the backend, and well, this is for front-end integration. We used another frictionless package that called Frictionless Components, and they are made in React.js but plus TypeScript. React.js is a framework for JavaScript, and TypeScript is a language, another computer language. And this is an image of the Dryad website, and this model, this screen, you can see the results of applying the frictionless package, and after the user makes the uploads, and the system automatically starts to validate the files that the user uploaded, and it's simple as display as the results. And this frictionless components has this nice feature of showing a table, a representation of the table with the part that is not valid. For example, in this image, you can see that is a left blank, a blank label, a blank cell here that is not conform of with a good CSV file. And so in summary, we use this frictionless component to inside the Dryad app to display the issues with the CSV files. And well, it is simple to use too. It's a matter of calling the frictionless components that you installed with npm and node. So schematically, I can give you this information about the integration, and there's the documentations for the frictionless components too. And yes, this is about the frictionless, and my work in the first month was to reshape the upload system for the Dryad that was very based on JavaScript jQuery, and we started the work using React framework to give more dynamics for the upload page in Dryad. And after that, we started to make the integration. And well, this is only a schematic way of this integration to see. And maybe Daniela will talk more about the system and how the system works. So yes, that is it for my part. And you can ask me what you want to make the thing more reasonable. So I pass to you, Daniela. Thanks.
Yeah, is there any questions specific to Cassiano? Otherwise, I can kind of show it and then we can go to questions, but anything immediate? Okay. All right. So on the actual upload page, what Cassiano is referring to is we did have to do quite a bit of UX work around this to understand how researchers would be able to really understand it. But also our system is a little complex because Cassiano had actually helped us. We do have an integration with Zenodo. So when you come to our page now to upload the files, we allow for people to upload code and scripts as well as supplemental information. So we get a lot of authors who are coming to us because their journal told them to come over here. And then they start sending us, like some random PDF of information that's a supplemental file, which is not data, doesn't need to be curated. So we set up this integration, but we wanted to make sure that the data validator is just on files coming in through Dryad. And then because this is already a little complex and we don't want to confuse people, we had to think about how do we run this in a way that makes it really easy for a researcher. And what we came up with after a lot of user testing with random researchers across disciplines is they didn't want to know information about the validator. So instead, when you upload a file from Choose Data here, oh my gosh, there we go. This keeps happening on Google Slides where it totally freezes on Zoom. Okay, so you click upload, you bring in the files. So all of the files, the software could be here as well. And then we just automatically run the tabular data check on it. So when we were user testing it, we said, well, do you want to know and agree to have it happen? And people said, just do it. I'm not going to think twice. I don't need to consent to this. And so we automatically run it on files that are 25 megabytes or under for Excel, CSV, and then a little bit of JSON, but JSON's been a little tricky with it. And so when it's passed, it passes easy. If we have issues, we decided that we needed to put multiple places so that people would see it. Some could say that's overkill, but you can click on view one issue, or you can click on it up here, and then we open up that formatting report. So this is another area where we had to do a lot of accessibility design. All of our code is open source. So if you guys, if anyone wants to take what we did, it's VPAT accessibility WCAG 2.0 compliant now. So the highest accessibility for it, which was a little difficult, surprisingly, for all of these rows. Sorry, there's an emergency truck. So what happens is if we clump them, as Frictionless does, by the type of issue, and then give the information there. And then we wanted to make sure people understood how they can remove the file and start over. And so, you know, once they actually go and they click it remove, they can go re-upload it, and then there's really no problem. We are not requiring that you do this to click submit at the end of the Dryad page. We might eventually go there, but we have had, we had an example, a data librarian wrote in the other week saying that they had an author come to them saying, well, I did this formatting on purpose. This is right for my field. And it kept showing an issue. So we don't want to try and, you know, say that it works for everything, even though for the majority, we really shouldn't be having blank rows, things like that. So since we have done this, I believe we went live in June, but Lily and Cassiano, I remember, I feel like there's been so many things. Come on, slides. There we go. Okay, so since it's gone live, we've had over 11,000 files that have been validated. I thought it was interesting though, that only 942 of those had issues. I mean, it's still a lot. It's still 100% worth us doing this because those are 942 files that have now been fixed. But it's interesting what the breakdown was. We didn't have data to start on knowing, you know, how bad our files right now on these things. But interestingly, we've only had 16, so 11,000 files for over, I think, 1,000 or 2,000 data sets submissions. We've only had 16 instances of authors writing in saying this isn't working or why is it erroring, things like that. And a lot of it was actually things we had to troubleshoot after it went live. The biggest things that we have issue with are large or complex files. We thought based on the past, so the majority of data submitted to Dryad is tabular, but we thought that they were all pretty small files. It turns out that complex files start throwing a lot of errors for us where it says that it's still validating and it won't stop. And so the user can't actually keep moving. And so these are things that we're still trying to work through and understand. And we don't know yet if this is things that maybe Frictionless can work on or we should, but we'll keep people posted. And again, all of the code is live. So if anyone wants to take all the things that we've been tinkering with, go for it. But otherwise it's been pretty seamless and pretty easy. And it can be a finicky community when we have that many people coming in and kind of no one noticed it, which is exactly what we wanted. We didn't want anyone to really know that it was a change. It's just something that happens and it's been accepted like that. So we're really happy with it. So any questions for us? Also, we can put documentation in if people want to see like the UX work or what Cassiano did, all that kind of stuff, if that's helpful. Amber, I saw you raise your hand.
Yeah, first of all, like this is very encouraging, great work. I know a lot of these things that look smooth are not trivial. But I actually have some further questions on, so I know a lot of the issues are communication and giving the people the information about like why it fails and what they need to do to configure it to re-upload if it fails. So can you talk a little bit more about, like, I saw you had some instructions about remove this, but like how you let them know what they should be providing to make it pass?
Yeah, so we took what Frictionless had already built on the report, and Lily, I don't know if there's a specific name for what it was that you all have. So we took what was there and then we modified it for accessibility and made it look like our branding, because that was another thing researchers said was like, try and make it seem like we're just still in Dryad, even though clearly that form was not a Dryad component. And when you click on each problem, it's clumped by problem type, it tells you exactly what you need to change. So that was the other thing, is we didn't want to say like, you have an issue and go change it. It says exactly, row this blank, please remove it, this is how. And that was guidance that Lily's team actually had. And so we just incorporated it for issue type.
Thank you. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I'm gonna love like looking at what you provided. It's great that you've made that open source so we can not completely reinvent the wheel. We've also been, you know, trying to implement some of these components, and we got to some stages and we're kind of struggling with the communication aspect of too, like how to roll this out in a user-friendly way and communicate these issues, because sometimes people don't understand, like, you know, we need one table per Excel sheet. It's given to us, but not to everyone. So thank you for all this hard work. And I probably will have more questions, but what I'd love to communicate more, but is that welcome through, you know, GitHub, or how would you?
Yeah, you're welcome to reach out to me directly if you want to talk through parts of it. Otherwise, we'll follow up, because I didn't come prepared with all the links, but we can follow up with all of the links to where in GitHub everything lives. But if you want to talk, just reach out over email.
Okay, thank you very much.
I think Paula has a question.
Yeah, very quick, just to make sure I understand. So when the error is flagged, the researcher should remove the file from the upload, go back to their file, check what is wrong, change it according to the instructor, and then re-upload into the Dryad repository, correct?
Right. Yeah,
okay.
we don't have computational space within Dryad.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Thanks, Paula. Francisco.
Congratulations on the work and on the presentation. We here in Minas Gerais, I think we are doing something similar, dealing with the same challenges. And we run the open data portal, but we also run like a fiscal transparency portal that is only for expenses. And right now we are opening up the data of the fiscal transparency portal and preparing a process for the departments in the rest of the government to open up their data in their area. So I think it's very similar to the kind of work that you're doing. And I have a lot of questions. I think I also looking forward for the material for the documentation on the UX work, because right now my team, which I assume is going to be better prepared for this than the teams in the departments, they are struggling very much with the error messages. Like there's a validation error and they can't figure out what they need to do to actually make it pass. So I'll be curious to know if you change the default messages of you or working to provide it back for the frictionless messages. And also if the validations you are doing like custom validations, you are creating table schemas for validations, or they are all automatically inferred for during the submission, or if after the curator, if I understand correctly, the researcher gives the data to a curator, and if some of those roles are creating table schemas, manually curating table schemas for the validation going forward.
Yeah, that's interesting. We are just using the basic schema for everything right now, but we put out an announcement yesterday, actually, that we just got some funding to work with some metadata experts to actually get to a point where Dryad could have different metadata schemas for different types of data inferred by the first metadata we get, like the abstract or the discipline, if someone puts that in. And so we had been thinking about, once we get that different metadata, then how could we update what the validator is doing to infer, and not just have it be, you know, in general, are there blank rows? Like, what would a more advanced validation look like there? But we're not there yet at all.
Thank you.
Thanks. Did you have other questions, Francisco? Or
I think I'm going to give the chance to everyone to ask, and then I
okay. I think Danny was next.
Thanks. Yeah, this is great and good pioneering work, Daniela. Thanks. I have lots of questions and we'll probably, continue to run some stuff by you offline for the Bigodemo side. But in looking at your one slide about the sort of, I had no idea you guys received so many files since June, 11,000, right? And so roughly 1,000 were problematic. And so kind of unpacking or digging into that a little bit, what is that compared to the percentage that you would have normally? Once they got to curators, your curators were kicking back to the PIs or the authors themselves. And then were those 1,000 able to go away, fix their problems independently and come back, or does that represent some hand-holding there? And how different is that from the basic process? And do you think the messaging, as Amber was originally talking about, that sort of troubleshooting piece sufficient, or are you iterating on that?
Yeah, those are great questions. So I need to do a little more digging, but from what I can infer, the curators would not have looked at those things in the past. And so there isn't a correlation between what would go to curation of what Frictionless is catching, because the majority of what curators are looking at is like the thorough metadata, and the most common thing that we send back for is like human identifying information, which the validator is not looking for. And so, especially with COVID data, so much of that. So there seems to be a little bit of a difference, and this was kind of like almost like pre-curation. We were thinking of it like, let's get the files in the best shape, and then the curators can like look at the content. But of that number of about 1,000 that had issues, they've all gone through. So we heard from 16 different authors of that. So everything has passed, and so the communications, the curators are very receptive to the communications because they're running help desk. And I haven't heard anything from them on it. So I'm going to assume that the communication all looks good, because we would have heard a lot more.
Yeah, that's great.
Amber, do you have another question?
I do. I'd like to ask a little bit more about both the complex quote unquote cases and your where you're starting to talk about plans for more validation. Maybe I think you're talking about maybe more configuration rule you can apply, like skip rows and all that, to get some of these more complex cases to pass. But it's a big decision. Like, do you put that on the submitter, or do you have some kind of communication method where it gets passed to the curator for kind of triage, just to get the schema to pass? Or do you handhold and like help them realize like what they need to enter for these more complex configurations? So first of all, I was interested that your first rollout here, you're actually, it sounds like instead of getting some of the cases where they might have some metadata at the top that's messing up the load or something, like I'm assuming that remove and re-upload after format instructions are like take that out and put that in a captured field or something. That's a very interesting decision to just, okay, here's what you do. You make your data more simplified, and instead of like, I was tending to maybe think more, we immediately need to jump to get them to configure skip rows or something. But that seems like a very simple solution for getting a huge percentage of passes the first time and even the second time. So that's interesting that kind of just make your data more structured instead of trying to handhold at the very start is a good triage at first. But then for these cases, like I think like sometimes it's complicated and that's just the way it is and you have to support that. So can you comment a little bit about, are you thinking about having curators pre-configure stuff or try to communicate how to do that and expose the front end to that?
I would love to, but the reality is at our scale, we cannot handhold anything until it actually gets to curation. So that's something I should have pointed out as well. When you submit and it runs through the validator, it could then go sit in a state called private for peer review for like a year. So most people who are submitting to Dryad are submitting to a journal with their article, and we put it into this private world where they get a randomized URL for the journal or for their lab or whoever. And it doesn't actually get to curation until 6 months to a year. And that's because the data is changing. Hopefully that, data is peer reviewed more, then they're going to be uploading and changing those files before it even gets to curation. So by the time it gets to curation, it's because the journal told us, hey, the related manuscript has been accepted. You can curate it and then you can publish it. So by the time it gets there, the files have usually changed many times. And so if we handhold up front, it's almost like a waste because so much of it could change. A reviewer could see it and be like, this whole file's got to go. And then at the end, also, we just build integrations with publishing platforms. So like one just went live with 9,000 journals. And so our biggest thing right now is like, how do we do curation at scale in general? What if we get 10,000 submissions next month? So that's kind of like step one is curation at scale. And then step two is, okay, now we've handled that. How do we get better metadata for disciplines? And then, and then on top of all of this, which is like not the topic of this call, but maybe interesting, is how do we flag to a researcher even before they validated their files that they shouldn't be coming to us in the first place and they should be going to their disciplinary place? So this is like, that's kind of where we are as Dryad right now.
Thank you. It's interesting because like the tools are there, but it's how you implement them, these really important decisions about simplicity on the front end, or do you have your curators do it? That's so fascinating. Thank you for sharing that.
We have other questions. Francisco.
So maybe this is for Cassiano. Do you know if, I don't really know that well about front end and React, if we can use, or maybe, I don't know, Lily even, what is the relationship between, if I can use frictionless components with CCAN to show like the metadata validation on CCAN? I know that the people at Datopian are working on Portal.js, I think. That is like a rewrite of the CCAN front end. And I think it uses React, but I don't know how to position those kind of projects and if I can reuse, for example, frictionless components on CCAN, on the CCAN that is today being used everywhere.
Okay, Francisco, in fact, I don't, when I was working with OKFN, we heard about the CCAN project, but I don't know the technicalities of CCAN specifically. So I don't know how would be the relation with frictionless components and CCAN. But well, the frictionless component is pure for the front end, and it receives the results from the validation process in frictionless backend, and with the file that it receives, it can render that nice table with all the issues that frictionless encounters in the CSV file and the JSON file and the file. So it's only a matter of frictionless components have the results from frictionless backend validation, and it renders in the page. But sincerely, I don't know how CCAN works, and I don't know. I can't say to you about what would be the relation between the two. But well, there's other people that probably from OKFN that works specifically with CCAN, and I think you can hear about them about this integration. But okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll just
Maybe
pop in to say, yeah, I think the answer is yes, but I'm not totally sure. Francisco, would you mind asking Yevgeny, because he'll be able to definitely answer that.
Sure.
Any other questions? Okay.
I'll follow up.
Yes.
Sorry that I wasn't more prepared with the links to the, the code base. I just slacked and was like, quick, someone. I'll follow up with the Frictionless team so that this can get to everyone, but with all of the information, all the contact information, I promise.
Yeah, maybe I'll share again the agenda document. Daniela, if you can put it in there, then everybody will have access to that. Yeah. Okay, if there's no more questions, I want to thank again Daniela and Cassiano for the awesome presentation. It was really, really great to hear about this. After working with you until the summer, and then, you know, I mean, hear what actually was changing and the things that you could actually see. So that was great. Before we move on and I ask other people if they want to share anything, I just wanted to share with all of you a bit of community updates. So first of all, most of you will know, some of you are participating already and are registered already, but next week on the 7th and 8th of October, we're running a Frictionless Data Hackathon, which is going to be just great. It's online, it's free. You should definitely register. You have time until the end of the week. There's a link in the agenda document, but I'll share it with you also here in the chat. There are some amazing projects already. You can also see on our website, you will have access to the dashboard of the hackathon and you will see. There are some projects using LiveMark, there are some linked to Seekan. There's really a bunch. There's going to be something for all tastes. So I really encourage you to all to register. If you have time, you don't have to come for the whole hackathon if you don't feel like, or if you don't have time, but it would be great to have as many people as possible from the community. The other update that I wanted to give was that today is the last day in which you can answer our community survey. So we've been running this throughout the whole month of September, and it would be really, really useful if all of you could answer it. It's a tool for us to better understand the health of our community, but also like the things that you like, but also the things that you don't like and that we could improve, helping us making some choices about governance, for example, or other things. So I would really, really encourage you to answer that as well. I just put the link in the chat. It only takes 5 minutes. It's not a very long survey, but again, it would provide us with some really, really useful information. And then the other thing that I wanted to say is that next community call is going to be on the 28th of October. So it's going to be at the usual time, so 1 year earlier compared to this one. And we're going to hear from Michael Amadi from on a project called Open Data Blend, which uses frictionless data. You might have seen it. We wrote a blog a few months ago about it. So I'm really hoping to see all of you there. And I think that's it from our side. Do you have anything else that you wanted to share, Lily?
I don't think so. But if anybody has questions about the hackathon, feel free to reach out. I think it's going to be really fun. And yeah, please take the survey. I think that's it.
Yeah. Anyone has anything else to share? Okay, well, it was great to see you all. Thanks again, Daniela and Cassiano, and I'll see you all next month. Don't forget the survey, and I hope to see you all for the hackathon next week.
Thank you very much.
Everyone.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye. Take
Bye.
care.
Bye.
Thank you all.